A maid informs her mistress that she is heading out to pick someone up. Students are engaged in a sparring match. A high school teacher named Frey Garnett watches a sparring match, offering encouragement to his student, Lily. Lily decisively wins her match. Her teacher, Frey, compliments her performance. Other students gossip about Frey being a commoner. Lily rushes over to her teacher. She eagerly asks Frey how she did. Frey praises Lily, telling her she's a brilliant student, and he has no complaints. Lily believes his teaching is the best in the country. She notices that other students gravitate towards a different teacher. The other students point out that Frey goes unnoticed because he is not an aristocrat. Frey admits that as a commoner, he has no connections outside the academy. He wishes he could do more for Lily, but she refutes this, insisting she doesn't need more. Frey expresses his dislike for his students touching him. He reflects that he shouldn't be so condescending and remembers Lily's upcoming birthday. He decides he must get her a present, pondering his unlikely position as a teacher at an academy for nobles. However, his success was not well received by everyone. Frey is confronted by a fellow teacher, Eris, who smugly confirms that Frey has been expelled from the academy. Eris's fiancée, Maya, plays the victim, implying Frey acted inappropriately towards her. Eris claims Frey's behavior is a result of inadequate training. He continues his accusations, calling Frey a disgusting beast. Citing their years of friendship, Eris condescendingly offers to listen to Frey's pleas. An official stops Frey, stating that he is being interrogated and has no right to walk alone. Eris leans in with a menacing grin, taunting Frey. He demands that Frey speak. Frey suddenly bursts into laughter. Eris and Maya are surprised, and Maya hopes he hasn't gone crazy. Frey nonchalantly remarks that it's too bad, as he was already aware of Eris's dislike for him. Frey calmly states that he never thought Eris was good enough to pull off such a charade. Enraged, Eris attacks, vowing to finish him off. He is confident that Frey can't fight back without being imprisoned. Frey easily dodges his clumsy attack. Eris is left stunned by the sudden move. Eris crashes to the ground. Others rush to his side to check if he's okay. Frey advises him to learn some self-control before walking away to focus on his thoughts. Frey asks Arius-sensei if he can go home. The teacher says it's not possible, while an enraged Eris gets back on his feet and demands that Frey be stopped. Frey begins to leave the academy grounds. Lily catches up to him, having heard he is leaving. She refuses to believe he would ever do anything inappropriate to the female students. Lily insists that Frey has never laid a finger on her, except to help with injuries. She wants to protest his dismissal, but Frey tells her not to, as it would only worsen her situation. Heartbroken, she confesses she'd be lost without him. She explains that half of who she is was formed by him. Lily is crying. Frey gently comforts her. He asks her if she remembers everything he has taught her over the years, and she tearfully confirms that she remembers it all. He reassures her that she'll be fine and tells her to focus on improving. He explains that this is what he wants for her, instead of protesting. As a parting gift, he asks if she will accept a flower-shaped hair clip. Lily tearfully accepts the impromptu gift, placing it in her hair. A grateful Lily promises to do something for him in return. Frey agrees, hoping she will hire him when she grows up. Lily promises that when she grows up, she will hire him as her butler. With curfew approaching, they say their goodbyes and part ways. Frey walks away from the academy. He admits to himself that seeing Lily has made him feel a little better. However, he is now faced with the daunting question of how he will support himself. His vocation as a teacher has been discarded. At a large mansion, someone approaches. A maid hurries down a hallway. Inside a room, one of the young ladies, Isna Uni, wonders what the new teacher her father hired will be like. One of the girls declares that she doesn't care anymore, as the new teacher will be the same as everyone else. She insists she doesn't need a teacher. Another girl retorts that she needs a lot of help. Another girl, Femme, also claims she doesn't need a teacher. A fourth girl in a hood remains silent, shaking. A maid arrives at the doorway. The maid announces to her Ojo-sama that she will go pick up the teacher now. The scene cuts to Frey, who is presumably the new teacher. The 5 young ladies are told they will soon meet their new teacher. For thousands of years, a war between humans and demons has raged, with the hero and the demon king at its center. A man reflects on his past at an academy where he was responsible for educating the next hero. Now, in a shocking turn of events, Frey finds himself appointed as the teacher, to none other than the daughters of the demon king. The maid, Rose, confirms that this will be Frey's new job. However, one of the daughters immediately expresses her disdain, calling the idea of a human teacher a bad joke. Isna questions her sister's dismissive tone. The sister retorts that the purpose of their gathering is clearly to determine their father's successor, and she deems Isna too naive and unprepared for the challenge. Frey listens in, trying to piece together the family dynamic. The sisters' argument continues, with one accusing the other of being bossy, only for Isna to reply that she acts according to her abilities. The tension between the two sisters builds as they gather magical energy. An alarmed Frey asks if they're about to fight, but Rose tells him not to worry. He concludes that while their relationship is strained, it amounts to little more than bullying. Deciding he cannot let this continue, Frey steps between them. He firmly states that he does not approve of their behavior and hopes it is not a daily occurrence. The sisters are shocked by his sudden intervention. Frey realizes he was able to interpose himself because while their magical attributes were different, their power levels were almost identical. Having assessed their power levels, Frey stands ready to counter any spell. His actions amuse Isna, who laughs and says it was fun. She declares the meeting over and heads back to her room. As Frey leaves, the horned sister confronts him, warning him not to get carried away. She insists that neither of them were fighting seriously, and his ability to match their magic power means little. Frey apologizes, explaining he merely thought it was a game between sisters and wanted to prevent it from escalating. His apology flusters her, and she storms off, vowing never to accept him as their teacher. Before Frey can react, another sister launches a surprise kick at him. She comments that she expected him to have better reflexes, considering how he'd intervened earlier. Frey doesn't move, allowing the girl to flip over his head and land behind him. Annoyed that he didn't even react to her attack, she calls him boring. Another sister approaches to apologize for the other's behavior, but Frey tells her he knew the kick wasn't meant to hit. The girl then admits she lacks her sister's talent but tearfully promises to do her best in his training. As she turns to go to her room, she trips. Frey swiftly catches her in his arms and asks if she's all right. Flustered, she apologizes profusely. Rose remarks that she thought Frey had a rule against touching female students. He replies that he breaks that rule when someone is in danger. He then stops her, clarifying that he hasn't accepted the job yet, and suggests they talk elsewhere. In a well-furnished room, Frey confirms with Rose that the girls are indeed the daughters of the Demon King Hazar. He's surprised by the lavish treatment, something impossible to imagine at his previous job. Frey can't believe the proposition, a human training the next Demon King. Rose explains that it was a personal request from the master for Frey to take on the task, but she leaves the final decision up to him. As Rose leaves Frey's room, she is met by a blindfolded maid. The maid greets her as Lady Rose and asks if the human will take the job. The maid doubts he will, but Rose is confident, saying he has 3 reasons to accept. The first is his bad reputation among humans, making it hard to find work. The second involves the complicated nature of a human working with demons. The third reason is his strong sense of right and wrong. As Frey lies in bed, he thinks of his parents, resolving not to stumble over the same stone again. Frey recalls the girl who already had such high hopes for him. He considers that if he turns the job down, he won't have to see her struggle again, but the thought seems to trouble him. The next morning, Frey walks into the classroom, where the 4 sisters are already seated and waiting for him. He wishes them a good morning. He notices the hopeful girl seems happy to see him, and he wonders if she's looking to him to help her regain lost confidence. The blindfolded maid's question about the third reason is answered. The reason is simple. Being a teacher is his true calling. With his mind made up, Frey stands before his new students. He introduces himself as Frey Garnet and announces that starting today, he will be their teacher. The education of the Demon King's daughters is about to begin. During Frey's first class with the Demon King's daughters, one of them, San, is already fast asleep. Frey notices and prepares a piece of chalk. With a quick flick, he sends it flying towards her. The chalk hits its mark, waking her up with a sharp thud. San sits up abruptly, demanding to know what he's doing. Frey calmly explains that he was waking her up, as she had fallen asleep the moment he finished his self-introduction. Unimpressed, San dismisses his lesson, stating that human classes are boring. San is shocked that Frey knows her name, wondering if he used magic. He clarifies that he simply read their files. As San grumbles, another girl, Anna, gently reminds her to listen to the teacher. Frey explains that he still wants to hear them introduce themselves personally, and asks Anna to begin. Anna introduces herself, humbly stating that she has no special skills besides perhaps swordsmanship. Frey internally notes that her humble words are likely a way of saying she's good at everything and he has nothing to teach her. Next, Isuna introduces herself, specifying that her specialty is magic. Frey senses that she dislikes him even more than San does. San introduces herself next, stating she is good at physical exercise. Frey observes her cheerful but resistant personality. Lastly, Fia, the fourth daughter, introduces herself, claiming to have no special skills unlike her sister Anna. Frey notes this stems from a deep lack of self-confidence. The final student, a hooded figure, introduces themselves simply as Femme. Frey is still unsure about this student. He wishes he could get to know them all better, but knows his time might be limited. His continued employment will be decided by a test that will take place in 3 months. Before starting work, Frey asks Rose about the test, but she says she cannot tell him the details. He learns that their father, the Demon King Hazar, will personally evaluate his daughter's skills. Realizing 3 months is a short time, Frey resolves to make the most of it. Back in the classroom, Anna asks Frey what their first lesson will be. He confidently tells them that he will be choosing the subjects they learn, and for their first lesson, they will start with the basics. Frey cheerfully announces that their first subject is arithmetic. At the announcement, one of the girls immediately falls back asleep. San, now awake and thoroughly unimpressed, tells him that he's boring, and she has no interest in anything that isn't physical training. Frey tries to persuade her, explaining that arithmetic is a deep and interesting subject. He adds that he believes it is exactly what she needs right now. San is confused by his statement. Isuna interjects, asking if he's only teaching arithmetic because he lacks the confidence for more advanced subjects. Isuna continues her taunts, remarking that it's common for weak races like humans to teach things they can't perform themselves. San quickly agrees, accusing Frey of making up strange things to cover for his own weakness. Anna finds Isuna's childish attitude annoying. However, she concedes that her words are reasonable and challenges Frey to demonstrate his martial arts. Isuna adds that while her suspicions about him are justified, she has a proposal. If he can beat San, he will be more than qualified for the job, an idea that thrills San. Fia tries to intervene, pleading with her sisters not to disturb their teacher. But Isuna and San shout in unison for her to stay out of it. The outburst leaves Fia dejected. Frey accepts their challenge and declares that he will fight. He realizes that to educate these girls, he first needs to prove himself. They move to an open field, and Frey knows he needs to be recognized by them first. Fia approaches him worried, and tells him that San is very strong, capable of defeating even adults. Frey reassures the concerned Fia that it's okay, acknowledging that her sister is a good fighter. Frey clarifies to a wary San that this will not be a fight, but a class. He assures her he has no intention of hurting her. He invites her to attack whenever she is ready. San doesn't hesitate and immediately rushes forward. San unleashes a series of swift attacks. Frey, however, remains calm. He effortlessly dodges and blocks her leg sweep, much to the surprise of her sister watching from the side. She continues her assault with an acrobatic kick, but Frey blocks it easily. As she lands, she believes she can defend herself from her current position, while Frey begins to suspect her mother's heritage. Frey identifies San as a dark elf, a race known for their agile bodies and high magical power. He notes that she converts that power into physical strength. He concedes that an average adult would be no match for her, but he remains unshaken. San, on the other hand, is shocked and wonders who this man could possibly be. As the other sisters watch, Fia worries for her teacher while Isuna scoffs that he's only defending himself. Anna corrects her, stating that Frey is completely handling all of San's attacks. In that moment, Anna understands what Frey meant when he said arithmetic is what San needs. Finally seeing an opening, Frey strikes, sending San to the ground. He stands over her, the match clearly decided. Frey asks if she's satisfied. Lying on the ground, San bursts into tears, yelling that it's not fair and questioning why she couldn't win. She complains to Isuna that Frey must have cheated by secretly using magic. Isuna, however, refutes this, stating there was no sign of magic. San asks why she lost, and Frey explains that it was simply logical. He tells her that he read all of her movements to predict her actions, and that if she learns to think during a fight, she will become stronger. San has a moment of realization. That's what arithmetic is for, to train her thinking. Seeing her defeated, Frey begins to worry that he overdid it. He fears that he might have destroyed her confidence. His concern is interrupted when San slams her fist into the ground, creating a powerful shockwave. Startled, Frey wonders if she still wants to fight. But instead of attacking, San leaps onto his back. Her face is no longer filled with frustration, but with a wide, bright smile as she exclaims that he's great. San excitedly demands that he teach her arithmetic immediately so she can get stronger. A flustered Frey tells her to get down, explaining that this is only the first step. He reflects that the files he was given were accurate about her cheerful and kind personality, and with this, he has gained the trust of the third daughter. Isuna chants an incantation for fire arrows, unleashing a powerful spell. Her magic completely incinerates a large tree in a fiery explosion as the others watch. Proudly, Isuna declares this to be her true power, making it clear she won't show Frey any mercy. She challenges him to show what he's capable of, confident in the gap between their powers. Despite her bravado, Isuna is left flustered and speechless. Her sisters realize she is perplexed after witnessing Frey's own display of power. San explains that Frey cast a more powerful spell without any chanting, which is what stunned Isuna. Inspired, Fia excitedly runs off to find Frey-sensei. A wounded Isuna confronts Frey, sarcastically asking if he feels proud of himself. Frey, however, is stressed, worrying that he went too far. He hopes he hasn't made her feel insecure after his display. Rose tells Frey that she will leave the educational methods entirely up to him. Rose questions Frey's decision to display his power if he was so concerned about Isuna's feelings. Frey explains that he faced a similar problem during his time at the academy. He had to ensure the aristocratic students respected him, as their pride made them difficult to educate otherwise. Frey recalls that at the academy, the only students who truly listened to his lessons were commoners like himself. He regrets not showing his strength sooner, believing more students would have acknowledged him. Rose reminds him that the human world is a hierarchical society. She explains that students are often obligated to be educated by those chosen for them, regardless of their own wishes. Frey feels that as a teacher, he should have acted differently. He admits to Rose that because of his past, he's afraid of ruining things this time. Rose suggests that it's not a bad thing for a teacher to still be learning, growing, and struggling. Her words leave Frey speechless. Rose gives Frey a stark ultimatum: get results in 3 months or she'll kill him, hoping he overcomes his fear. Fia overhears their entire conversation from the doorway. She realizes that even a strong teacher like Frey has to deal with uncertainty. Inspired by this, she runs off, determined to do her best. Frey heads to the library, intending to speak with Isuna and hoping she isn't too upset. He spots her reading and wonders what she could be studying. Isuna reads with fierce determination, vowing not to be beaten and deciding to start from the basics. Frey watches her with an understanding smile. She diligently studies the fundamental principles of magic from a textbook. Though he wishes he could teach her, he decides it is best to leave her alone. Frey decides to find a book for himself and read it somewhere else. He finds a quiet spot outside to read. His peace is short-lived as San suddenly grabs him, calling his name. San eagerly asks what book he's reading, guessing it's about martial arts or arithmetic. Frey reveals that he's reading a story called Earth Terra. Frey explains the book is part of a fictional series that is so well written, it feels real. He enthusiastically talks about the fascinating characters, especially his favorite from Volume 3. Inspired, San attempts to imitate the character's pose. Frey watches her attempt with a deadpan expression. Frey reflects that he's never been around other people who enjoy reading. He's surprised to find human entertainment novels here, though he couldn't find the last volume. He realizes that he is steadily gaining the trust of the sisters. Recalling Frey's earlier spell, Anna realizes she can replicate it without difficulty, and concludes he was holding back. A smile crosses her face as she entertains the thought of fighting him one day. Still, she resolves to keep testing him. She doesn't expect him to be a great teacher. She reminds herself that he is a human employee, while she is the queen of the castle. Her thoughts turn to her mysterious sister, Fem, noting that Frey still knows nothing about her. Anna believes that to succeed, Frey will need to get along with both of them. As Anna practices, her magical flames suddenly extinguish. She wonders if she used up her magical energy faster than expected. However, she realizes something else is happening. She ultimately dismisses the feeling. Frey senses something strange and decides to take a look. Unbeknownst to him, Isuna is watching, wondering where he is going and hoping to find a weakness. Frey follows a trail, noticing scorch marks on a nearby tree. The trail of footprints continues, leading him farther from the castle. The trail leads him to a large hollowed-out tree, where he discovers a small, cloaked figure. He calls out to Fem, startling her. Frey immediately worries that he has invaded her secret hideout and that she will hate him for it. His concern is quickly replaced by shock, when he recognizes the book in her hands. It's the final volume of Earth Terra. Fem shyly asks if he also likes the book. Frey responds with a warm smile, confirming their shared interest. From a distance, Isuna watches them, curious about their conversation. Isuna decides to get a little closer, vowing not to forgive Frey if he does anything to Fem. Frey reflects that he still doesn't know much about Fem. He concludes that she seems to be a shy child who loves to read. Isuna's stealthy approach is ruined when she steps on a twig. The sharp crack startles both Frey and Fem. Frey turns around to see what caused the noise. Frey gently pulls back Fem's hood, revealing her face for the first time. He is met with the sight of a young girl with short white hair and striking wide eyes. Frey is shocked by her appearance, noting her hair and skin are incredibly white. He realizes they are almost transparent. The sudden exposure causes Fem to panic and scream. Isuna rushes to her side as she cries out. Frey has a startling realization about the girl's mother. A mysterious phenomenon begins to manifest. It is revealed that Fem is a ghost, a rare species that exists between the world of the living and the spirit world. The conversation flashes back to Frey, asking Fem which part of the story Earth Terra she likes the most. Fem, hidden under her hood, hesitates to answer. In a large bath, Anna is relaxing. She notices Isuna has joined her. Anna remarks that she had expected to be alone at this hour. Isuna explains that she just needed to wash up because her body got dirty. Anna brings up the explosion from earlier, telling Isuna it's a miracle she's okay. The scene flashes back to the aftermath, with Frey checking on a worried Isuna and Fem. In the flashback, Frey had shielded Isuna from the blast, checking if she was all right. The experience left her stunned and blushing. Back in the bath, Anna tells Faya that Frey was indeed there. Faya reacts with shock to the news. Later, Frey explains to Isuna that Fem has secluded herself in her room, and he's unsure how to approach her. He decides to keep Fem's involvement a secret for now, and plans to consult Rose. Afterwards, Frey sits alone in a room when Rose enters, holding a candelabra. Frey immediately asks Rose if she knows anything about the incident. With a troubled expression, Rose prepares to answer. She admits that while strange phenomena have always occurred around Fem, an explosion of this magnitude is a first. Frey asks if these are the phenomena mentioned in the records, which Rose confirms. She cites malfunctioning magical tools and the disappearance of magic as examples. After a moment of silence, Frey states that he wants to hear Lord Hazar's judgment on the matter. Frey clarifies that this is about Fem's future, given her uncontrollable power. He questions whether she can continue to live in the castle. Meanwhile, in the bath, Anna correctly surmises to Isuna that Frey is likely discussing Fem's fate at that very moment. Fia is surprised that Anna knew what Frey was discussing. Anna explains it's a logical conclusion, as the phenomena surrounding Fem and the explosion naturally lead to suspicion. Isuna argues that Fem has no motive and it was likely an uncontrollable outburst. She confronts Anna about her calm demeanor. Isuna reminds her they are rival sisters. She questions what will happen to Fem, suggesting possibilities like isolation or being sent away. Rose informs Frey that the decision regarding Fem's fate is his to make. She reminds him that he has been entrusted with the care of the young ladies. Frey realizes he was always meant to handle the dirty work if such a situation arose. Rose implies that in the worst-case scenario, Frey would have to eliminate Fem. Frey angrily rejects the notion, declaring he would never do such a thing. Rose calmly suggests he should make a different decision then. Offering her personal opinion, Rose states her belief that Frey should be the one to guide Fem. Frey is stunned by the suggestion that he should teach Fem how to control her power. He reflects that this is a far more difficult task than the dirty work he had anticipated, as he would have to face a power that could go out of control at any moment. With newfound resolve, Frey walks toward Fem's room. He is stopped by Isuna, who suspiciously asks why he is going there. Inside, Fem is curled up on her bed. Frey calls out to her through the door. He explains to Isuna that they are both fine and just got their clothes dirty from the earlier incident. Frey presents Fem with a choice. He tells her that she cannot continue to live there as she is and offers her the option to return to her mother. Isuna is shocked by his words. She tries to intervene. However, Frey continues offering another path. He tells Fem that if she wants to stay and learn to control her power, he will absolutely help her. Isuna watches, confused by Frey's actions. Fem sits up and looks at him. She calls him Sensei. Frey then asks her a simple question: which part of the Earth Terra story does she like? In response to his question, Fem had given him a thumbs up. Frey recognized it as the hero's signature pose from the third volume. He fondly recalled how the hero uses it to give hope, share joy, or pretend to be strong. Frey understands that the thumbs up is a symbol of trust and promise. He makes the gesture himself, vowing to help Fem. It is his promise to guide her. Fia and San burst in, calling out for Frey and Fia. Seeing the group down the hall, Frey asks what happened and expresses concern for Fem. To explain the situation, the group moves to another location. The task at hand is to help Fem, the fifth daughter, who is troubled by an unexplained phenomenon. Frey explains his plan to work closely with Fem to help her control her power. San immediately offers her help for Fem's sake. Frey gratefully accepts her offer. However, Frey clarifies that for safety, Fem's training will be conducted separately. He asks the others to focus on their self-study so he can concentrate on Fem. He then turns to Asuna with a request. He asks Isuna to guide San and Fia in the meantime. Asuna indignantly refuses. She tells him that if he's serious, he should bow his head and ask properly. To her utter shock, Frey immediately bows his head. He sincerely pleads for her help. Flustered, Isuna exclaims that he shouldn't take her words so literally, as his actions make her seem like a villain for not wanting to help her sister. Just then, Anna appears and expresses her relief. Frey, realizing there's another option, asks Anna if she would be willing to help with the others' self-study instead. Anna agrees on the condition that it doesn't interfere with her own training, adding that he doesn't need to bow. Asuna mutters about his stubbornness. As Frey thanks her, Fia looks on. Fia asks if Fem's training will begin the next day. Frey explains that it won't, as he has asked Rose to arrange the necessary items. Until the preparations are complete, Fem will rest at a separate villa while he conducts research. Frey immerses himself in research on the ghost-kind species, but finds little information. He learns that they are solitary and avoid conflict. Their most well-known characteristic is that their bodies are semi-transparent. Meanwhile, Fem rests in the villa, her body partially transparent as she contemplates a bowl of water. In another part of the estate, Rose approaches Frey's study. Rose enters to find a weary Frey. He asks if she visited Fem at the annex. Rose explains that she had been trying to visit during her breaks. However, she states that it seems it will no longer be necessary. Rose relays a message from Fem, who asked that Frey not visit. Fem is worried he is working too hard for her sake. She wants him to get some rest. When Rose asked if she would be all right alone, Fem said it was okay because Rose comes to help. Fem insisted she would absolutely help. With a gentle smile, Fem expresses her complete faith in him. Rose, moved by this trust, believes Frey will undoubtedly live up to it. Frey thanks Rose for delivering the message. He admits it's reassuring to know Fem's true feelings, and that she trusts him so deeply. Frey tells Rose that thanks are unnecessary, as they entrusted Fem to him because of his capabilities. Rose then informs him the requested materials will arrive in 2 days. She then takes her leave. After she leaves, Frey reflects that once the materials arrive, he will be busy with production. Remembering Fem's concern for him to get some rest, he decides against more work. He decides to take a short nap, knowing he cannot afford to collapse now. While Frey rests, Isuna attempts to tutor San in arithmetic. San is completely baffled by the algebraic equations, complaining about the squiggly lines. Isuna is perplexed by San's confusion. Anna steps in, offering to take care of San while Asuna handles Fia. Anna suggests taking Fia to the playground, much to Fia's surprise. At the playground, Isuna pushes Fia through a running exercise, but she is already exhausted after just a few hundred meters. Isuna is determined to run 10 kilometers and urges her to continue. Meanwhile, San daydreams about exercising instead of studying. Asuna snaps her back to reality, demanding she focus. She vows to teach her basic magic and prove she's a better instructor than Frey. A week later, San worries about Frey, who has been secluded in his room all night. Isuna reassures her that although it's frustrating, they must trust him. The day for Fem's training has finally arrived. In a desolate field, Frey explains his plan to Fem. To control her power, they must first understand it, but her power is an enigma. He explains that to understand it, he needs to see it and make contact with it. Frey asks Fem to release her power, but she admits she can't do it at will. He concludes there is only one option, to recreate the conditions that caused her to lose control before. With a quick apology, Frey slaps Fem across the face. The act leaves her shocked. The unexpected act triggers her power. A dark, swirling orb of energy begins to form before her. As the orb grows, Frey prepares to face it. He declares it's time for his secret weapon, a specially designed gauntlet, to shine. As Fem's power surges, a swirling black orb of energy manifests between them. She cries out in panic, feeling her magic spiral out of control. Frey watches the unstable energy with grim determination. Frey reaches out, his gauntlet crackling with energy as he attempts to contain the volatile magic. Fem calls out his name in alarm, but he reassures her that it's okay. He asserts that he is now controlling the powerful magic. The strain on his gauntlet is immense as he wrestles with the power. Later, he explains to a bewildered Fem that he had been experimenting with a few other types of magic recently. Observing the phenomenon, Isuna analyzes the orb, concluding that it seems to be a mixture of two different kinds of magic. As the magical orb finally dissipates, the backlash is immense. Fem rushes to his side, calling out to her sensei in concern. Frey is left exhausted from the effort. She asks if he's okay, but he's more interested in what she learned. Fem says the magic felt like it was made of two different things, which Frey confirms was the impression she got. She apologizes for not being able to figure out more, even though he's trying so hard. Frey praises her, saying that figuring anything out on the first try is impressive. He insists she take a break and eat something. While eating, Fem asks about his gauntlet, which she identifies as a staff. Frey is amazed she remembered the human term for a magic control tool. Frey explains their training method. He'll initially handle most of the control using the staff while she focuses on observing. As her understanding grows, he'll gradually increase her control rate. He clarifies that the staff is just a supplementary tool to reduce exhaustion. Her magic is naturally meant to be handled barehanded. He reflects on the significant strain this brute force method puts on his body. The wear and tear on the staff is extreme, and he worries about how long it will last. The gauntlet is made from incredibly rare materials on a national budget level. As a commoner, the pressure is immense. Fem quietly asks if he made the staff just for someone like her. Realizing his gloomy mood is affecting her, Frey decides he needs to change the subject. He asks Fem if she has anyone she admires. He clarifies that he means someone she looks up to, like a mentor whose training she might imagine. He worries that his question might have been inappropriate. Fem looks up thoughtfully, about to name the person she admires. San is shocked by her sister's casual defense. Elsewhere, San attacks Anna during a training session, but Anna effortlessly deflects her strikes while casually reading a book. San is completely exhausted from the one-sided spar. Anna closes her book and reminds her that this was the physical training she requested. San complains that Anna should focus on her, but Anna retorts that it's her reading time, and she was merely obliging San's wish to prioritize training. San notes that Anna's attitude has been different since losing to Frey. She recalls his criticism that she lacked the ability to fight with her head. Anna laughs, teasing that San might get smarter if she read while fighting. She laments that her sisters are too hopeless. Anna quietly wonders if she should increase her training time even more. 5 days into Fem's training, Frey and Fem continue their work. Frey observes her progress, noting that while there's been slight improvement, they are still far from a fundamental solution. Frey feels the pressure of the approaching exam, just 2 months away. His greatest desire is for Fem to be able to live with everyone again. As they walk, he spots Anna in the distance and wonders what she is doing there. They see Anna training intensely with her sword, cutting down trees in the forest clearing. Her focus is absolute as she practices her swordsmanship. The trees she struck are now engulfed in magical flames. Anna turns, having noticed their presence. Frey remarks to Fem how hard Anna is training in both swordsmanship and magic. Fem is captivated by the sight of the magical flames. Frey calls her name to get her attention. She worries about the fire, asking if it should be put out. He explains that since the fire was created by magic, there's no danger. Frey elaborates that magical elements can be controlled by the caster's flow of energy. He states that with Anna's skill, she won't lose control even from a distance. The fire won't spread and will eventually burn out on its own. Fem listens, taking in the lesson. Fem murmurs that Anna's magic control is amazing. She feels that she is nothing like her sister. Frey realizes that Fem admires Anna. Snapping out of her trance, Fem apologizes and urges him to resume their practice. He tells her not to rush, suggesting they take a slow walk and talk instead. He reassures her that while Anna is certainly amazing, once Fem masters her own magic, she won't lose to anyone. Fem confides that she trusts him, but doesn't feel strong like he is. Frey admits that he used to be weak and hated himself for it. When Fem asks if he still hates himself, he says he's okay with it now. Frey tells Fem that what she really needs right now is to first learn to love herself. As she asks how he managed to overcome his own feelings of inadequacy, the scene shifts. In his study, Frey finishes reading all the research on the spectral species, but is left with only dubious information. He considers dropping the research to focus entirely on coaching instead. However, he discovers a particular paper that might hold the key to a breakthrough. Femme reflects on her hatred for her own face and transparent body. Despite what others said, she always felt different from everyone else. Still, a memory of her concern for her sensei lingered in her mind. Femme points out to her sensei that he looks sleepy. Frey explains that he came across an interesting paper the previous night and spent hours digging into the author's other works. He compiled his findings, adding his own insights to create this material. The document explains that the world is made up of two separate worlds. Frey asks if she understands, having tailored the explanation for her. Frey encourages her to read the rest of his findings. The document explains that they live in what is called the present world. Alongside it exists another world called the spirit realm. This is likely why the spectral species appears translucent, as half of their bodies exist in the spirit realm. The sacred text describes the ritual of the devourer, a method for the spectral species to wield magic. Femme notes that the following section is the author's own interpretation. The theory suggests that Femme, unlike others of her kind, might use both negative and positive mana. She observes that the author's paper provides little concrete evidence for this claim. Frey admits that while the idea of a spirit realm sounded crazy, the author seemed to genuinely believe it. The phrase "the two are mixed together" made him wonder if it referred to positive and negative mana. He intuitively felt that the author's conclusion must be correct. He declares to Femme that her magic is a mix of both positive and negative mana. Frey asks Femme for her thoughts on his analysis. Her eyes widen as she confirms that she can sense it. Frey clenches his fist, feeling the strain of the ritual. He feels drained, but resolves to recast the technique again tonight, despite the cost. He reflects that performing the ritual always feels like a heavy burden. A sphere of dark magic forms between Frey and Femme. Femme calmly states, "It's done." Pleased with himself, Frey remarks that he might actually be a genius. Although his control is still unstable, he believes he'll get the hang of it with more practice. He is filled with determination, believing he can now save Femme. Fia approaches Isuna, asking what she is looking at. Isuna replies that she is observing the gloomy-looking sky. The girls express their worry about Femme, whom they haven't seen in a long time. Isuna angrily stops them, reminding them why they are living apart. She explains that if they were to get hurt, Femme would be the one most devastated by it. San proposes they could just take a look from a distance. Isuna agrees, telling Fia to come with them. Fia asks what Anna will do. Anna is seen quietly reading a book. Fia bows respectfully before leaving. Suddenly, Frey's gauntlet shatters. He looks on in stunned disbelief. Seeing the gauntlet break, Femme calls out to Frey in panic. The orb of dark magic begins to destabilize. Frey is baffled, believing he should have had plenty of energy left to control it. He wonders if his deeper understanding of Femme's magic caused its power to surge. Femme realizes her magic has reached its limit. Frey yells her name as the magic surges towards her. She apologizes profusely for what is happening. Frey reaches out, trying to stop her. He smiles and gives her a reassuring wink and a thumbs up. Frey admits that he used to hate himself. He tells her that someone special made it possible for him to change. This person was always there, smiling and supporting him through his darkest times. Femme thinks to herself that his story sounds nice. She wonders if someday she'll also be able to like herself. She reflects on her time with her sensei. Her eyes begin to sparkle with hope. The orb swells, and Frey wonders if this is the end. His immediate priority becomes getting Femme out of the blast radius. Femme steps in front of Frey to face the unstable magic. She admits that she still can't bring herself to like who she is, but she is determined to protect her sensei, knowing that failing to do so would make her hate herself even more. Fia calls out to San, asking if she sees what's happening. San confirms that she does. Femme stands resolutely, channeling her magic. A massive beam of light shoots into the sky. San, startled, wonders what just happened. She notices that the rain clouds have completely disappeared. Worried, Fia and Asuna wonder if something has happened to Femme and the others. Isuna shouts for San to hurry back with a report. Back in the clearing, the land is calm once more. Femme realizes with pride that she was able to control her magic, just like her sensei. Frey bows his head and apologizes to Femme, much to her surprise. He explains that his foresight was too naive, and he should have better prepared for the surge in her magic's power. Frey asks Fem about her control over the magic. She demonstrates by effortlessly manipulating a small orb of magic. With a small pop, she easily disperses the magic. Seeing her control, Frey expresses his relief. Fem blushes at his praise. She instinctively pulls up her hood. Frey asks if it is still uncomfortable for her face to be seen. Fem flusteredly denies it, causing Frey to wonder if he failed to teach her confidence. Their conversation is interrupted by a voice calling out. Fem is surprised to see San and the others approaching. Suddenly, Frey is knocked to the ground. Frey tells Fem to go on home, saying he'll just rest for a bit. He then collapses from exhaustion. Fem looks down at him with a gentle smile. She recalls Frey's question about her being uncomfortable with her face being seen. With newfound resolve, she pulls down her hood. With her hood down, Fem smiles with confidence. Isuna begins her day in a wonderfully cheerful mood. She hums to herself as she walks through the halls. They are relieved to see that Fem's issue seems to have been resolved. The other girls discuss how tired Fem was the previous day, but Isuna is confident she'll be fine. Overjoyed, Fem runs up, calling out to her dear friend Isuna. Fem embraces Anna, thanking her for stepping up to be a teacher and giving everyone lessons. Isuna deflects the praise, mentioning that Anna also taught lessons. She adds that it was Flay who helped Fem the most with his strength. The thought of him makes her blush. Alone, Isuna considers that it might not hurt to express a little gratitude to Flay. As she walks down the hall, she is startled to find Fem just around the corner. Isuna peeks around the corner to see Fem speaking with Anna, her older sister. Anna addresses Fem by her name. She notes that Fem seems to have finally learned how to control her power. Fem confirms this. Anna confesses that she previously thought Fem was unqualified to be a candidate for their father's successor due to her lack of control. Looking at her sister with a newfound respect, Anna declares that in the battle for the successor, Fem might just be her greatest rival. As Anna walks away, Fem is left speechless and emotional. Her eyes sparkle at her sister's acknowledgement. While Fem celebrates, Isuna is in shock. Anna spots her hiding. She teasingly asks if Isuna wants one-on-one lessons from Flay too. Isuna vehemently refuses. She shouts at both Flay and Anna in frustration. Meanwhile, Flay is in the middle of a sparring session with San. He easily deflects her attack. Flay compliments San's skills, but advises her to pay more attention to her contact with the ground, though she is confused by his advice. Flay laments that with only 2 months left until the Demon Lord's trial, he wishes he had more time to teach her. Just as he considers drawing a diagram to explain, Flay is interrupted. Isuna has arrived, and he asks if she wants to talk. He calls an end to the training session, telling San they'll continue tomorrow. San protests that he doesn't train his students half-heartedly. She sighs, remarking that this is so typical of him. Flay asks Isuna what she wanted to discuss. She thanks him for his help with Fem, but then brings up her concern that he must have spent a lot of money. Flay's mood darkens. He admits to using materials on the scale of a national budget and worries he'll face some kind of punishment. Isuna asks if he has spoken to Rose yet, but he explains he hasn't had time. Fed up, Isuna decides to handle it herself and storms off, with Flay calling after her. Isuna bursts in, calling for Rose. She demands to know what her father said about Flay's treatment. As Flay tries to calm her down, she questions his hesitation, while Rose looks on, confused. Rose calmly asks if this is about the costs for Fem's lessons. She clarifies that there's no problem, as everything is in accordance with the contract. Flay recalls discussing the objectives and compensation with her when he first arrived at the castle. Flay explains that since there's no use for cash in the castle, he was told to request whatever he wanted. Isuna realizes he ordered the materials under the guise of compensation. Flay admits there was no upper limit, so he took advantage of the loophole to request the materials. Rose confirms that while the Demon King did buy the materials, he seemed rather unhappy about it. Rose chides them for suggesting the Demon King is stingy. She clarifies that the cost was a business expense, and calling it compensation was merely to save face for Flay. The only criticism was that next time, Flay should request what he wants himself. Isuna asks if this means Flay is off the hook. Isuna is incredibly relieved. Her sudden proximity startles Flay. She explains that if he had been punished, Fem would have felt responsible all over again, as a mysterious figure observes them. A cheerful catgirl maid named Reno appears, playfully commenting that Isuna seems to be enjoying herself. Isuna reacts with surprise, and Flay asks who she is. Rose explains that Reno is another maid who serves in the castle. Reno explains that she's been busy with class-related matters and has come to say hello now that she has some free time. Flay muses that managing the castle would be impossible for Rose alone. He thinks that even with two, it seems like a lot. He notes that neither of them seems ordinary. Reno then teases him, asking if he thinks maids should also serve at night. Flay quickly denies thinking such a thing, while Isuna dismisses Reno's antics. Rose interjects, reminding Reno of her duties. She then turns to Flay and states that if he desires that kind of service, he should ask her, not Reno. The unexpected offer leaves everyone stunned. Flay insists it's just a misunderstanding. Later that night, he lies awake, unable to sleep after Rose's strange comment. In her own bed, Isuna also ponders the situation. She tells herself it is none of her business, but can't help wondering if Rose was serious. She becomes flustered at the thought. Flay is woken by Rose standing by his bed. She explains that her earlier comment was a joke. However, after Reno brought it up, she realized she had failed to notice his hardships and has come to humbly apologize. Disrobing, Rose offers herself to him, telling him to feel free to take care of his needs with her. Far away in another part of the castle, a bored voice sighs. A mysterious woman decides she would like to see the human teacher. She also wants to see Isuna and resolves to sneak over to their location. Flay is startled to find Rose in his room, straddling him on his bed. Concerned, he asks if she has been drinking. Rose reassures him that it's okay, and tells him to relax, inviting him to use her however he wishes. As he touches her, Rose expresses her happiness, feeling his fingers on her body. She breathlessly asks him to touch her anywhere he likes, not just her chest. Rose pleads with Flay to be inside her. Her voice is filled with desire as she calls out his name in ecstasy. Suddenly, the intimate scene shatters as Reno, the cat girl maid, shakes him awake. Flay is shocked, wondering what happened to the erotic dream he was having. Flay quickly dismisses the vision, convincing himself it was just a dream, as Rose would never do something like that. Reno remarks that he looks like someone played a prank on him. The idea of a prank makes Flay consider the possibility, especially remembering that Isuna's mother, a succubus, might be capable of such a thing. He recalls that succubi are masters of dreams and seduction, using their magic to control human hearts. However, he quickly dismisses the idea. Finding no trace of magic in the room, Flay concludes it really was just a dream. Reno, noticing his strange silence, startles him. She wonders if something happened last night. Reno blushes and asks if he was having an erotic dream about her. She playfully describes a wild scenario. Flay simply stares back, unimpressed by her antics. As the sun shines brightly, Flay walks through the castle grounds. He thinks to himself that Reno is a handful, especially on his first day off in ages. Reno catches up to him, explaining she came to check on him since he wasn't waking up, even though it was his day off. Flay grumbles that it's his day off and he should be allowed to rest. He then runs into Rose. She greets him warmly. Flay becomes flustered. He asks if she's feeling unwell, and Rose offers to take him to bed. The suggestion triggers a vivid flashback to his dream, causing him to panic. He quickly insists he's fine. Rose tells him to let her know if anything comes up. Flay makes a hasty retreat, leaving Rose confused. Catching his breath, Flay sighs. He is frustrated that he can't seem to relax on his day off. He starts thinking about work, considering making a lesson about the importance of rest. His thoughts are interrupted when he hears someone calling for help near the castle gate. At the gate, a demon woman with tears in her eyes looks relieved to see him. She asks if he can open the gate for her. Flay asks who she is, explaining that outsiders are not allowed. The woman claims to be affiliated with the castle. Flay, seeing she's a demon, says he can't let her in on his own judgment. He tells her to wait while he gets someone to confirm. As he turns to leave, the woman pulls him close and kisses him through the bars of the gate. He is left completely stunned. Reno arrives, saying she heard someone calling for help. She sees Flay at the gate with the demon woman. The woman, Yahello, greets Reno cheerfully. Reno, shocked, demands to know what Flay did to Yahello, who playfully insists she did nothing. Flay, coming to his senses, tries to process what just happened. Yahello explains that she simply stared at him for a bit, after which he seemed to zone out. In Flay's daze, Yahello had been whispering to him, asking if her kisses felt good. She suggested she could make him feel even better if it weren't for the fence. She then alluringly asked if he would open the gate for her. She had tempted him to stay there with her for a long while. Flay snaps out of the illusion, his composure returning as he realizes he was being manipulated. Yahello is surprised that he broke free. She remarks that she's glad Reno came, because she realized something had been done to her. Flay tells her that if Reno hadn't arrived when she did, he might have attacked her. Reno, still confused, tries to stop him, asking if he realizes who this person is. Reno reveals the woman's identity. Yahello is one of the Demon King's wives and Asuna's mother. The revelation leaves Flay utterly speechless. Flay realizes that Asuna's mother must have guessed he was the rumored teacher and was testing his worthiness. He understood that for a succubus of her power, it was a minor illusion. However, it was one he normally would have been completely lost in. He believes he only managed to get through it, thanks to the erotic dream he had that morning. Reno praises him as a reliable teacher. Flay internally attributes his success to simple self-control, a trait expected of any teacher. The nightmare demon Asuna begins her dive into Flay's memories. She is determined to uncover the secrets of his past and the source of his strength. As she enters his mind, Asuna is immediately confronted by the shocking vision of a massive roaring fire. Startled by the fiery scene, Asuna questions what she is seeing. Sensing its importance but unable to grasp the situation, she concludes that she must delve deeper into his memories to understand. A young boy runs frantically, gasping for breath. Observing from above, Asuna wonders if he is fleeing from something. Exhausted, the boy stumbles out of the woods. He collapses onto a road just as a passing wagon approaches. The driver shouts for the wagon to stop, having spotted the collapsed child. The scene shifts, and the boy, now bandaged, sits silently on a bed. Asuna recognizes that this is Flay as a child. She realizes that instead of rewinding his memories, she has jumped forward in time to a point after the fire. Asuna finds the flow of memories disorganized, making it difficult to pinpoint the exact moment she wants to see. She decides to watch for a while, hoping for context to emerge. However, she grows impatient, realizing the young Flay hasn't spoken a word in nearly 3 months. Frustrated with the slow pace, Asuna admits she could fast forward to some extent. She decides to keep jumping through memories randomly, hoping to land at a point shortly before the fire. With a sigh, she resolves to wait it out, having already come this far. Asuna gathers that the people who saved Flay took him to an orphanage. Everyone there seemed to care for him. Her attention is caught when a young girl bursts into the room, cheerfully calling out Flay's name. The girl Naru announces she has come to play. Asuna learns that Naru, another child from the orphanage, visited Flay every day. It was thanks to her persistence that Flay slowly began to respond, and she was the first person to learn his name. Asuna feels a strange familiarity with Naru, finding her similar to Fia and San. Naru suddenly remembers that the library received new books and pulls one out of her bag. She excitedly tells Flay it's called The Tale of Earth Terra. Flay offers to read the difficult text for her. Naru finds the book tricky to read on her own. He begins to read about a story from a different time and world. Naru is amazed by his ability to read. She eagerly asks him to continue reading. Flay bluntly tells Naru she should study and learn to read it herself. While Asuna finds this rude, Naru takes it as a challenge. She returns with a study book, asking Flay to teach her. Flay protests that he never agreed to teach her. Naru's cheerful persistence seems to win him over. Soon she is happily exclaiming how good he is at teaching. Naru beams, telling Flay he will be a great teacher in the future. Asuna finds this prediction a bit optimistic. From that day forward, Flay began to open up more to Naru, his quiet words carrying a hint of happiness. A month later, the memory continues. Flay and Naru are walking together in the woods. Asuna grows annoyed, complaining that Flay has been putting off thanking Naru for days. As Flay begins to speak to Naru, a rustling in the bushes interrupts him. Suddenly, a vicious beast hound leaps out towards Naru. Asuna watches in alarm, crying out Naru's name. Naru freezes in terror. Without a moment's hesitation, young Flay steps in front of Naru and forcefully strikes the beast. Asuna watches the scene with a serious expression. The beast retreats, whimpering. Relieved, Naru thanks him for his bravery, but he dismisses it as nothing. Naru excitedly praises Flay's strength. She thanks him again for protecting her. As she speaks, a dark and intense look flashes across Flay's face. Flay suddenly snaps, yelling at Naru to shut up. His outburst startles Naru. He immediately realizes what he has done, his own expression filled with shock. Asuna, watching the scene, is furious and silently urges him to apologize. Flay complies, quietly saying he is sorry. Later, he explains that the sword technique he used was taught to him by his father. Flay tells Naru that while his mother taught him academics, his father would train him whenever he was home from work. He reveals his father was the captain of a strike force that went to the demon world. Asuna is surprised, recognizing the term from a previous lesson. He explains that his father was called a traitor. One day, their house was stormed by many people. His parents protected him, allowing him to escape. Flay reveals that both of his parents were killed. He heard that his father had secretly sided with the demons to destroy the kingdom. He admits his conflict, wanting to believe in his father, but not knowing the truth of his actions. He also questions whether his father's actions led to his mother's death. Naru suggests that he should go to the demon world himself to find out the truth, reminding him of his goal to be an explorer. Flay points out she previously said he would be a teacher. Naru combines the ideas, suggesting he could be a teacher who shares what he has explored. Naru enthusiastically concludes that he could become a sage in the magic world. Her suggestion leaves Asuna completely bewildered. Flay laughs off her grand suggestion. At that moment, Asuna has a revelation about the true secret behind his strength and his goal of going to the demon world. She realizes she was mistaken. The fire she first saw was not from when his parents were attacked. Asuna reflects on this newfound understanding, unaware of what the future truly held for them. A military subordinate reports to his superior about an orphanage on the northern outskirts. He notes that one of its residents was admitted around the same time they dealt with a traitor and carried out their punishment. The superior acknowledges the report. The scene shifts back to young Flay, deeply focused on his sword practice within the world of his memories. Asuna observes Flay, remarking on his nightly swordsmanship practice. Flay tells her he has figured out the secret to his own strength and can leave this memory, but feels the timing isn't right. Suddenly, a rustle from the nearby bushes catches his attention. A dog emerges, startling Flay. He recognizes it as the one he fought before. He wonders why it keeps returning despite being hurt, and Asuna theorizes that the dog recognizes his strength and has submitted to him. Flay tells the dog he has no food for it. He then decides he will ask the headmaster if the orphanage can adopt it. He begins reminiscing to Asuna about his life there, mentioning the other children and teachers. He fondly remembers Naru telling him he would make a good teacher. He humbly believes she was more of a teacher than he was. Hearing this, Asuna agrees that Naru sounds like a good kid and demands that Flay introduce her when they return to reality. Asuna playfully insists he must still be in touch with his friends. She then sighs, finding it exhausting to watch him practice so far away, and asks why he doesn't train somewhere closer. As they talk, they both notice a plume of smoke rising in the sky. Flay realizes with dawning horror that it's coming from the direction of the orphanage. Without a word, he sprints towards the smoke, leaving a startled Asuna behind. As Flay races through the woods, Asuna follows. Asuna realizes this is the fiery scene she first witnessed upon entering his mind, and understands it is not a past event, but one happening now. In a panic, Flay cries out the names of everyone at the orphanage: Tommy, Thomas, Hannah, Nancy, and the headmaster. He desperately calls out for Naru. They arrive to find the orphanage engulfed in flames. A soldier quietly reports that their mission is accomplished. Asuna is shocked to see soldiers standing by, making no effort to rescue anyone, confirming the fire was deliberately set. The soldiers discuss how they have yet to confirm if the traitor's son was among the children. Asuna realizes these must be the same men who attacked Flay's home. One explains that when they questioned one of their own comrades about the boy, he suddenly went berserk and set the orphanage on fire. The mastermind behind the attack reflects on his actions, believing that the more he emphasizes the villainy of the traitor, the brighter his own glory will shine for having condemned them. Asuna is appalled by the man's cruelty, realizing he burned innocent people alive just because they matched the conditions of his fabricated lie. She identifies him as the mastermind, wondering about his true identity. A wave of disbelief washes over Asuna. She questions if it's just a look-alike, but the face is unmistakable. She realizes with certainty that it must be that person. The mastermind explains that publicizing the incident will serve as a stark reminder to the true son of the traitor. He believes the boy wouldn't have the guts to step forward. As Flay begins to move in anger, Asuna instinctively reaches out to stop him. Just as Flay is about to act, the dog he befriended nudges his hand. It seems to be trying to hold him back from the danger. Asuna watches the interaction with concern. Asuna desperately urges Flay to run away. She knows her voice cannot reach him inside his own memory, as the real Flay is still alive. Still, she clenches her fist and silently pleads for him to escape. As Asuna mentally screams for him to stay alive, Flay turns to run. He flees into the darkness. A look of anguish is on his face. Isuna's intense emotions overflow, triggering a magic spell that shatters the world of memories. She finds herself abruptly returned to the real world, standing beside Flay's bed. As Flay sits up in bed, he looks towards Asuna. The residual energy from Isuna's spell erupts, sending her flying across the room. Flay looks at his own hand, still glowing with power. He frantically rushes to Asuna's side and apologizes. He asks if she is okay. Still dazed, Asuna questions why he would do such a thing. Tears streaming down her face, Asuna asks why he would do something like that to Naru and everyone at the orphanage. Flay is taken aback, confused as to how Asuna could possibly know about them. Asuna apologizes and admits she entered his memories. Flay asks if her memories are confused, since she spoke of past events as if they were happening now. He tells her the matter has already been resolved. Asuna then asks if the face of the man responsible looks familiar to him. Asuna confirms that she recognizes him, explaining that he's the most famous person alive, his portrait appearing in countless books. Flay acknowledges the man's fame. He reveals he was once one of his father's subordinates in the strike force. Flay recalls that the man frequently visited his home. He wonders if the man was close enough to notice his father's supposed betrayal, or if he planned to frame him from the beginning. Regardless of the truth, the man used the accusation as a stepping stone to rise through the military ranks at an unprecedented speed. A few years later, he became known as the hero. Asuna asks what Flay plans to do about him. Flay admits that after his father was killed, he had no plans at all. Flay confesses he still doesn't know if his father's execution was legitimate or a complete fabrication. However, he is certain there was no justification for what the man did to Naru and everyone else at the orphanage. That drive for revenge, he reveals, is the true secret behind his strength. Looking at Asuna with grim determination, Flay identifies the man as the hero Lux and declares that he will kill him.